Strap in. We're hitting the most dangerous and most bullish part of the cycle. It happens every time. The President of the United States launched not one, but two meme coins. And David Portnoy has already ignored his Bitcoin, not crypto advice and lost 200K.
I've made nothing. I'm the only guy. How do you lose on Bitcoin? How do you lose on Bitcoin?
Shoot, I guess. The euphoria is just getting started. And because of Donald Trump, 77% of people plan to increase their crypto investments in 2025. The stakes are higher in this cycle. Today, I'm going to cover the surprising Trump coin, why every cycle crypto is like Lauren Sanchez. You either get caught looking or you pass the test. And the most important thing happening in finance today, the United States government hitting the debt ceiling. That's way more important than any meme coin that we're worried about right now. The government needs to implement extraordinary measures or we will default. We got a lot to cover today. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Let's go. The most important thing happening in finance today isn't Trump coin. It's the fact that the US government will hit the debt limit today. They have to implement extraordinary measures by raising the debt ceiling or cutting programs, which we know won't happen. This is the last paragraph that Janet Yellen sent to Congress before leaving office on January 17th. The period of time that extraordinary measures may last is subject to considerable uncertainty, including the challenges of forecasting the payments and receipts of the U.S. government months into the future. The debt limit does not authorize new spending, but it creates a risk that the federal government might not be able to finance its existing legal obligations that Congresses and presidents of both parties have made in the past. I respectfully urge Congress to act promptly and to protect the full faith and credit of the United States. The full faith and credit of the United States is really based upon or predicated upon our ability to print more currency out of thin air. Sounds like the ultimate meme coin to me. The new Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, says that this is a crisis unlike any other that he's ever seen.
I am very concerned about what is happening right now. We have never had a budget deficit like this. We are at 7% of GDP in terms of the deficit. We've never had this when it's not a recession, not a war. And what do we have to show for it? They have created 18,000 manufacturing jobs. Last year, the economy only created 250,000 private sector jobs. This is a takeover of the government of the private sector.
Janet Yellen left a time bomb. They spent down our cash, and since we've hit the debt ceiling, we only have 2 months to raise it. That is the ultimate meme coin. I'll get to the stuff that you guys want to hear. Meme coins, bullish stories about price predictions, so I'll jump into that. Look, there's a life-changing opportunity for anybody who's able to pass the Lauren Sanchez test, and that is focus on something that everybody needs, no one can stop, and few people understand.
In my life, I've made a bunch of very successful investments. I bought Facebook, I bought Apple, I bought Google, I bought Amazon, I bought Bitcoin. And there's a simple formula if you want to make 10x your money or even 100x your money. And this is the formula. Find something in the world everybody needs, nobody can stop, and few people understand. And if you find that, if it's like obvious, Amazon, Google, Facebook, iPhones, Bitcoin. If I bought Amazon when Wall Street hated it, if I bought Facebook and Google and Apple when Wall Street hated it, if I bought Bitcoin when Wall Street hated it, then I'm getting rich.
Saylor mentioned Apple, Amazon, Google, Facebook. Well, yesterday in the front row of the inauguration, you saw Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Sundar Pichai, Elon Musk, Howard Lutnick, Tim Cook. All of these tech CEOs are leaders and some of the richest people in the world. But I believe in 16 years that Bitcoiners will be at the front row of the inauguration. We will be the leaders of the new world. I love this chart that Texas BTC put out there. It shows the price of Bitcoin on inauguration day going back to 2013. It was $1,570 in 2013, $895 in 2017, $35K in 2021, and $108,000 yesterday. But I love the question that he asked Grok. If you projected this out into future election cycles, what would the price be in, say, 2037? Well, that's $2.9 million per coin. Don't miss the opportunity to invest in the only crypto worth investing into. If this is your first cycle in Bitcoin, welcome. This is the crypto degeneracy point of the cycle. And this is my third. So I know that this is going to happen like clockwork. And that's why I'm trying to educate you now today on understanding the differences and helping you to pass the test. I'm not going to lie. When I saw Donald Trump launch the Trump coin, my face was more surprised than George Bush's face when it looked like Joe Rogan was salmoning him or credit carding him and he was trying to keep it together yesterday. The president launched the Trump coin, which we've seen 30,000 times in the past. A token created out of thin air, some with utility value most without, like the Trump coin. 99.99% of them don't provide any value to the world. There are a group of people who receive these tokens at the beginning of a project. Just look at most of the major crypto projects out there. And if I had to bet, you weren't one of the insiders. You believe that you own something that you really don't. When the owners of the project have had their bags pumped enough, they sell their shares and their tokens, and you're left holding the bag. In the case of Trump coin, they own 85% of the outstanding shares. If you're not part of the 85, you're going to get rug pulled. The worst part about these projects isn't the grifting or gambling mentality, is that they get lumped into Bitcoin. Like when there were posts yesterday flying around that they bought $47 million worth of Bitcoin. WBTC wrapped Bitcoin isn't like your favorite food being wrapped in bacon. It's like Bitcoin being wrapped with feces. WBTC is not Bitcoin. And this leads people down this path every time where we have to explain Bitcoin is not crypto. Trump coin, Melania coin, WBTC, in all likelihood will turn out to be frauds, Ponzi's, or the scams that they are. Wrap BTC was so much of a scam that Coinbase itself even delisted it from the project, citing Justin Sun's involvement, the founder and CEO of Tron, as a major risk to why anyone shouldn't invest into Wrap BTC. Yet the president of the United States is buying it.
Buy my shitcoin.
There will be all sorts of projects that look like Bitcoin, smell like Bitcoin, but aren't Bitcoin. One of the latest projects that I've seen touting a Bitcoin product but isn't Bitcoin at all is Coinbase's Bitcoin-backed loans. They use Bitcoin as the beacon and give you something else. When you give your Bitcoin to Coinbase for a loan, they give you CBBTC or Coinbase Bitcoin. They then send it over to a DeFi protocol called Morpho, which when I did some research on, their protocol built on Base is just 7 months old. They also have variable rates, what they don't show you on the front of their marketing, which so far in January have gone above 30% 4 different times. Bitcoin is pristine collateral, so it's natural that lenders will want to get into this business.
Trust me, I know why you're doing the lending.
It's all coming. You're figuring it out.
Listen,
And so more than the news, I care about you being educated on the types of products that you will see coming out. And I want you to learn the differences. So I reached out to Ledn CEO, Mauricio, and wanted him to talk about the differences between Ledn, who's a Bitcoin-backed lending sponsor of our show, and some of the other products that are out there.
A lot of people trying to sell you Bitcoin-backed loans in this cycle. And it's very important for you to understand how these Bitcoin-backed loans are being financed, what's happening in the back end, and for you to really understand what kind of risks you're being exposed to. So I'll give you an example. At Ledn, our main financing partners are with banks. And so when you interact with Ledn, you give us your Bitcoin, we take it, we will keep it either in our own custodian or we will pledge it as collateral to one of our banking partners in their qualified custody in trust for Ledn, and they will give us the dollars we need to then source out your loan. That is spot Bitcoin. It's never converting into anything else. We're not selling it. We're not doing anything funny with it. It's just your Bitcoin securing your loan. There are other protocols where you are being forced to potentially turn your Bitcoin into something else or wrap it into a format that can interact with a decentralized finance protocol. So in there, you may have 2 big potential risks. One, my understanding is that whenever you wrap any Bitcoin or turn it into something else, that may be a taxable event. So it defeats the purpose of you taking the loan in the first place, or a large part of it. The second one is when you're putting any one of your assets into one of these decentralized finance protocols, you are taking protocol risk. So they are, some of these big company names are launching Bitcoin-backed loans on protocols that are 7 months old. I have children in daycare that are older than this protocol. So you should be really thinking hard about where you're putting your Bitcoin and what type of securities or risks you are running, regardless of what the front end looks like. This industry has a past or a history of beautiful looking front ends with insane amounts of risks in the back that people just didn't take the time to really understand. So I would encourage anyone considering a Bitcoin backed loan to look at the reputation and the track record of that product, it being the most important thing, because there are very few things that haven't been thrown at this market over the last 7 years, and there are lenders, and we are a good example, that have been able to navigate every single curveball that's been thrown at this industry and stood by their clients. I would encourage everyone considering a loan to look at the track record, to ask the right questions, to ask about proof of reserves, and basically make sure you're comfortable when you're entering into this transaction and feel like you really understand what's going on.
And so, all Bitcoin-backed loan products are not the same. And that's why we chose to partner with Ledn, who's been the leader in this space since 2018. Not a single dollar or sat has been lost on their platform. I encourage you that if you're considering a Bitcoin-backed loan, that you would go to ledn.io/borrowing in order to fill out an application. That's ledn.io/borrowing. Also, Crypto will not allow your family to flee a hostile regime like what Mauricio and his family had to do. The threat of seizure is always possible with coins that aren't controlled by you. With Bitcoin, you hold and control the keys if you take self-custody of them. Mauricio's family had to flee Venezuela when the government shut down and raided their facility.
There's a meme in Bitcoin that the fiat system makes you have two jobs. You have your 9 to 5 job, where you make your income, and then you have to become an investor. Because if you don't invest the product of your labor efficiently, it gets devalued into infinity and you get left behind. So as inflation gets higher and higher and higher, this second job, this investment job, becomes more and more and more important. And that is why in late stage fiat, you see everybody become speculators and investors, and everybody stops doing anything that has any value, because the value is in the investing and in the tweaking and in the financial instruments. So in Venezuela, it was to the point where you could get paid on a Friday at 4, and your jobs would allow you to leave work because they knew that the second they handed that check to you, you had to run and turn that check into food, dollars, chairs, anything that would preserve its value, and then you could then barter with other people. So my family was bartering sugar for chicken. We were bartering plastic chairs for tires. When the currency breaks and restrictions are placed around what you can buy or what you can do to store value, you throw society into this frenzy and back into the barter system. And so the way many people found Bitcoin in this environment was you were getting paid and you were calling your dollar dealer or your dollar broker to basically try to buy some cash or do something with those bolivares. And they said, I have no dollars. I have no cash dollars. I have no US bank account dollars for me to sell you. The only thing I have is this thing called Bitcoin. And you can buy it and tomorrow you can sell it for dollars, but you can get out of your bolivares today. And so people would say, I'll try it. What do I need? And they'll say, you need to go get a Bitcoin wallet address. So they would go get a Bitcoin wallet address. And then they would send the bolivares, get this thing. They felt good because they were out of bolivares. Then, Monday would roll around. They would try to sell it on a P2P market, like local Bitcoins. And they would see that they would get more dollars than what they had paid for on Friday. The thing had appreciated in dollar terms. And when you saw that in Venezuela, your mind broke because none of your other assets were increasing in dollar terms. And it created this reinforcement. You saw that it was working and you wanted more and more and more of it. So you started selling other assets to hold this one that was appreciating. And Bitcoin became very viral in Venezuela leading up to 2017, 2018, which all culminated with the Maduro launching the nefarious petrocurrency and effectively starting a witch hunt against all Bitcoiners and Bitcoin miners, which is when they got to my family's facility. They raided our facilities and we had to escape. And, like in the memes that we like to talk about in Bitcoin, for me, it's not this intangible value. My family used Bitcoin to escape a hostile regime and to rebuild our lives abroad. So to me, this is an inevitability. This is not even a matter of if, it's a when.
I'll share some more clips about Mauricio's story in another episode, but I do want to highlight our second sponsor, the Bitcoin Way, which will help you have full sovereignty over your Bitcoin by taking self-custody of your Bitcoin. They'll help you remove your keys from third-party exchanges like Coinbase and protect your generational wealth the right way. I can't recommend them enough, and you should schedule a free 30-minute consultation with their team at thebitcoinway.com. Every single cycle we go through these phases where we emphasize Bitcoin and not crypto. One of the reasons is because Bitcoin just flat out outperforms every other asset out there. In an analysis done by Rational Root, he looked at the price of Bitcoin during different presidential cycles and looked at what happens when Bitcoin is hindered versus not hindered. And when it's not hindered, which is what it appears to be under Scott Bessent and Trump's administration, well, we could see some fireworks in Bitcoin's price. And over the long term, when you zoom out, we're not just looking at 4-year cycles, but 100-year cycles. And 100 years ago, Henry Ford predicted that we would have a currency not tied to the governments and banks, but to energy. Listen to this phenomenal segment from Willy Woo on Natalie Brunell's Coin Stories podcast about Bitcoin being the energy currency of the future and it having a potential $5 million price target.
Only way to secure a scarcity is with energy, because energy is always going to be scarce. Your economy, as it grows more, it's going to eat more energy to produce the stuff we want. So you've got to share it with the economy. And that means also that energy is scarce for securing the Bitcoin ledger. What I'm saying is fiat money is going to die, because we know that from every civilization, we need to get onto a commodity money, and gold and silver is not a possibility given the technology landscape. So therefore, the only way we can secure money is with energy, and we've got Bitcoin, and it's got no, there's no second best. It's got 15 plus 16 years of head start of adoption. There's not even a single competitor. Like, what's the next one? It's not Ethereum, that's proof of stake. And it's not geopolitically decentralized. Like fiat, it's social consensus. Everyone agrees that this thing has value. So the next one is Litecoin, I think, right? So we've only got Bitcoin. If it's going to be the money for the entire economy, then all the money in the system equals world GDP and roughly all the value of the publicly listed companies. 100 trillion, 100 trillion, 100 trillion. They've always been relatively in check, because you need this amount of money for this amount of trade and this amount of producing businesses. So that today is roughly 100 trillion, and that gives you the 5 cents. So it'll get there, and don't worry about how it's going to get there. But if you look at when it'll get there, you just trace the adoption curve of Bitcoin till it reaches near saturation.
This cannot be stated enough. The long-term price future of crypto all trends towards zero. And if not in real terms, in nominal terms when measured against Bitcoin. Our world is being repriced in Bitcoin, and it's only a matter of time before this current administration figures out the difference between crypto and Bitcoin, and we hope that it's not too late. It's not too late for you, and you can take the steps to own real Bitcoin today. One of the next steps that you can take in your Bitcoin journey is by coming down to Dallas, Texas from April 3rd through April 6th to the BitBlockBoom conference, where you can hear from some of your favorite speakers like Parker Lewis, Marty Bent, Guy Swan, Bob Burnett, and me, and also learn how to buy your first Bitcoin, how to mine Bitcoin, and connect with Bitcoiners in real life at exclusive events like our Saturday casino night. I hope to meet some of you down there, genuinely, because at that point in the cycle, in April, we'll be at a much further place where you're going to see much more crypto degeneracy, and you're going to want to have talked to some real Bitcoiners who know the differences to help you avoid the scams that are coming. Go to BitBlockBoom.com and get $100 off your ticket by entering the promo code BBB25. That's BBB25. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Bitcoin and not crypto. Happy stacking.